I will start with a very short presentation of the work that has been done on IPv6 procurement. I'm the primary co-author of this RIPE 501 document, and I suggest we quickly go through this stuff, and then we open a discussion on how this can be of use to you guys, to other community, or if there is any other suggestion how to do the procurement, how to request IPv6 when you are buying and ordering equipment. So it works best if turned on. Yeah, this is the RIPE 501. It's published. Basically, how it all started, I already explained in the previous session. I asked our governments why you don't require IPv6 when you're buying equipment, and the answer was because we don't know how. And then the guy said, can you please write me a text that we will insert into tenders when we buy the equipment? And I said, challenge accepted. So we started the document. I needed like 1 month to put all this together. Then it went to our working group that Ivan is also part of, IPv6 working group in Slovenia. Then it went to discussion on some round table at our summit, when the management staff came and told us what they think about that. Then this was also the work done in our study that Ivan is also co-author of for our government. And finally, some chairs from RIPE community saw this document like translated through Google and said, this is really important, we need that. So we translated the document from Slovenia, sent it to the RIPE IPv6 working group, and reached the consensus. What's in it? So now this is official RIPE NCC best current practice document. It got the number 501, and it's now translated to more than 10 languages. And it's heavily used around the world. So this is a perfect example how to write a successful document on a basis of a solid consensus. Because all these guys from RIPE community, from IPv6 working group, have a good feeling that they were part of it, because we took into account all the suggestions that were on a mailing list or at RIPE meetings. So this is really a solid consensus from technical community on this paper. This is not just something that one wrote and doesn't make sense. This is the work from the RIPE community, basically. I was just the editor at the end. So there are 3 options: RFC list, IPv6 ready logo certificate, and mix of first and second option. So you have in the RIPE 5.1 you have 3 options to select. There is specification for host, for consumer grade layer 2 switches, for enterprise service provider layer 2 switches, firewalls. What was missing was CPE and load balancer specification and mobile node specification. And there are also requirements for system integrator. There is lots of room for improvement, because in the original RIPE 501 there was just a bunch of lists of RFCs that are mandatory and RFCs that are optional. Now in the new version, we got Marika Kio as a co-author. She's a woman and she likes wording, so she suggested that we add some wording and some descriptions and things like this. So now the document looks more useful, more pretty. So this is the new version of the new document. As you see, this is the snapshot from, I think, from Google Docs, and it is just one option: IPv6 ready logo or RFC list when you require the equipment. We added CPE, load balancer, and mobile nodes. We got Marika Kio as new co-author. Probably you know her. She wrote the security book for Cisco, and she's quite a known person in this world. It's published on IPv6 working group, mailing list, and I think in a few days it will be under last call. So join the RIPE IPv6 working group. and express your opinions on this, or approach me and tell me what's wrong, what you would change. We are open for discussion. If you are from a vendor, I will just look at you and say, okay, yeah, probably we will take you into the consideration, but don't expect too much. And here is the link. Here I publish all the versions of the drafts because there are lots of suggestions in the RIPE community how to change it. And in this link there are versions of the draft, but now I think it is version 6, and it's stable. Now it's going to the last call, so now this stuff is stable. This is the collateral damage that we did. This is a vendor X position paper that says, after careful analysis of the RIPE 501 profile, vendor X is expressing its support for the following reasons. The set of feature list is deployed-oriented and takes into account architectures that have been validated by experience. The profile does not restrict itself to a small set of core IPv6 features, and the document lists a coherent set of IPv6 features that are likely to help the industry people deploy IPv6 at a faster pace. So we moved some bits and pieces inside that small vendor that's here. And we have now, I think, 6 people from this company working with us on the next version. Okay? So we are looking for consensus on next version 501, at least for November RIPE meeting. If you will be considering translating this document into your local language, wait for November and translate the new version, the successor. I think it's not in Italian yet, no? Oh yeah, probably it will. And we received we received the request from community to organize the work so all 5 RIRs around the world accept the same procurement document and same set of features that are requested around the world. So everybody around the world will be able to request IPv6 in the same manner. So this is from my side, and now I have a honor to chair this session, and I would like to ask you, you have 4 very different, yes, and I would really like to hear your, how do you do the procurement? How do you specify the IPv6 when you are ordering equipment? You think this stuff is useful? You think this stuff is useless? Just, I would like to hear your feelings.
Andrzej Gab, Integrated Solutions, Poland. My answer is tough. We don't use it. We don't order almost any IPv6 because if there is any IPv6 feature in devices, it's not bought because of IPv6. It's bought because IPv4 now. Yeah. So, but I see that this document will help us to prepare for the near future for delivering IPv6. We are connected to the market, and we see now that there's almost no demand from the market about IPv6. It's not so much. So as for now, we just would like to prepare for next months, next years. Yeah. So I pass my microphone.
Yeah, so you have lots of work in front of you.
Yeah. Well, I'll also address some of your concerns. The idea of this document is to allow you to prepare for the future.
Yeah.
Because when your customers buy the equipment, they buy it for 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And if they buy something today that is not IPv6 ready, they might have problems down the road. Especially if they rely on IPv6 in hardware. Mm-hmm. like load balancers, for example. And so you should really push this with your vendors, because this ensures that your customers will not have problems down the road.
Yeah, in next year.
Yeah. So by using this, you're actually protecting the best interest of your customers. Yeah. Well, yeah.
In this panel discussion, I am representing a vendor, the one which was mentioned here in one of the previous slides. So there are, of course, some things which are hardware dependent, and there are also a lot which are software dependent. I mean, the software needs to be developed, so it needs to be coded, the features need to be there. And on the occasion, I am doing mostly security. I believe it is one of the extensive fields in which the IPv6 is taken into consideration on many different occasions and in many different products, because we need to discuss the IPv6 first hop security to have the features which are, let's say, represent the same feature richness as we have with IPv4 layer 2 switching, desktop switching, enterprise switching. The next we have, of course, some mechanisms which are between the host and the IPv6 default router itself, which also need to be taken into consideration, and it is also an important topic, like the send framework, cryptography into there, and so on. The next thing is VPN and IPsec VPN, and different kinds of VPNs like point-to-point VPN and DM VPN, get VPN, readiness for IPv6, and including the key server and the group members, so the control plane and data plane. Also the IPv6 readiness for remote access is also very important, and a lot of things are being done there. We are almost there. What we don't support today is native IPv6 remote access deployment using the SSL VPN client. So if a customer would like to use, it is a very specific case, I believe, not widely deployed and thought of, where the customer would like to use IPv6 only remote IPsec or IPsec or DTLS SSL VPN headend. It is not supported today, but it will be eventually supported. So in places where we have a dual stack for VPN connectivity, we are I mean almost there. But there are another things like firewalling, like protocol translation, and it is also platform dependent, because all the platforms are, let's say, developed in parallel and by different people. If you have such a corporation like the one I am representing, it is totally different operating systems. iOS is a little bit different, iOS XE. The operating system, the Finesse OS on which the firewalls run on, and the IPS operating system, by the way, is different. And on IPS there is a whole story of protecting the network against IPv6 based attacks, IPv6 specific attacks, and being able actually to inspect IPv6 tunneled traffic. There are a lot of IPv6 tunneling options available in the world, basically, and they can be used. And making use of intrusion prevention also is a good way to understand what is going on in my own network. If my own users are doing some fancy tunneling out to the outside world, maybe they don't even know it actually, because it's enabled by default in some operating systems. So the intrusion prevention part is also important. And then comes from the enterprise to the big service provider, then there comes the protocol translation part, and also the support of these features like net 4 to 6, 6 to 4, and 6 to 6 is also, let's say, platform dependent. So the answer is it depends if the customers are in a need of specific feature today. we need to look at what we have today, but obviously the Cisco follows extensive roadmaps in regards to IPv6 support in layer 2, layer 3 and security devices, and as well as SP devices. I am basically an enterprise guy focused on security, so I will be happy to talk in detail about what is available on specific platforms and OSs from the security point of view. From the carrier point of view, there are some colleagues here in the room who would also talk a bit about that. But the direction is simple. We need to get there as soon as possible in terms of full IPv4 and IPv6 feature parity.
What actually happened is I heard this from internal people from your company. What your company is doing is they did a spreadsheet, right, with all your products and the names and emails of product managers, and on this side how they comply to RIPE 501. And they have green checks and red crosses, right? So now they have a tool to push these product managers to see, you have red crosses, this does not comply to RIPE 501, fix it. Now you have the tool to chase your own people inside the company to implement the features.
Exactly, this is very important because as I mentioned, this is a big company and there are different business units and totally different pieces of software and in hardware, right? There are too many products, and of course there is some cross business unit, let's say working group on IPv6, but it is always platform dependent. This is too many things, entities, products, and pieces of software to handle. But as you mentioned, yes, it depends. Eventually, I believe the company is doing pretty much a lot of things to address all the things and all the, like you said, red crosses.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adam, I believe you're from the operator, right?
Yes, I am from operator, but specific operator because I'm working on university and public university, government university, and we are obligated to make tenders for any hardware we want to buy. You
think this is useful?
Yes, it is useful because we some times ago make similar things in our own needs. Of course, not so developed and not so big, but in some points similar. Problem is in this area that vendors often say that it is not possible to make some features which we want. For example, one of the vendor, when we want to buy a firewall for IPv6, said that there is two possibilities for firewalling: turn on and turn off. And cool. I don't say name of this vendor because it was some time ago. Of course, maybe now it's a better situation, but no, it is not possible to talk with such a vendor. We want some features, we have some needs, and we have answer that there is no possibility to make it. So such a document will be probably more useful in semi-automatic rejecting vendors.
Because we wanted to test these requirements in the community. So this is very technical.
With this document, I simply make. Can you check this?
Yes.
All the point is checked, or anyone is not checked,
and nobody can say to you that you are vendor specific in the tender because this was done in the community.
Yes, yes, of course, but
yeah. Okay. Sorry. No. Go on.
Of course, but we have no idea what vendor could be so advanced in their products.
They are
to to make all the points checked.
Believe me or not, until we published this document as an official document for RIPE region, many vendors fastened the pace in deploying IPv6 because now it's being required in tenders.
Okay, that's very good news. So it's one advantage for this document.
Yeah. There's a question from the audience.
I have a question about the form of document. Is it the document which say this should be like must, should, or may, or this is document which...
For example, you see here, this is requirements for host equipment. You have mandatory support, right? You have mandatory support, and you have optional support.
Okay.
So if the vendor offers the equipment that does not cover all mandatory options, it renders that equipment invalid at the tender. I'm sorry about that, but it's how it works. So this is the incentive for the vendors moving forward. What I can add to this is that, for example, USGV6 profile is much more brutal than this one. This is very watered down version of USGV6 profile and changed very much by the technical community. And it makes sense of today what to request. This is very light version of IPv6 requirements, so you don't throw out too many equipment, right? Just if some, I don't know, who is not able to do at least that, then his equipment is not worthy to be sold. But if the equipment fulfills the optional requirements, then the equipment gets more points at the tender. So it is in best interest of the vendor to deploy as many IPv6 options possible because they get more points at the tender and they can sell equipment, right?
Yes, but my question is because mandatory support means if you don't comply, then you are out. And the question is if there is some, let's say, assessment, which means this, let's say, in the current level of development, most of the vendors support like 70-80% of mandatory, or most of them support 100% and only optional. I ask because I saw, for example, on broadband equipment, like Broadband Forum TR something, I saw
124
like 101, 59, and so on. There is a list of requirements. Sometimes even currently the equipment is like 10-year-olds, maybe a lot of, let's say, statement is not compliant for some reasons. Yes, but if you just take these requirements and you put to the tender, it can happen that no one, let's say, fulfill these requirements.
No. Yeah. So I was one of the technical people behind this list. So the first thing you have to know is that the mandatory RFCs are the things that are absolutely necessary to make IPv6 work. So nothing is included under mandatory that is not absolutely needed to make IPv6 work. Okay, obviously I'll get a response there. Optional, as Jan explained, these are the bonus points. There were at least 2, if not 3 vendors involved in the initial version of this document still within Slovenia. And of course, everyone was complaining about something. But at least 2 out of the 3 were in each section able to meet the requirements. So it's not like there would be no equipment on the market supporting this. Probably 80% of the boxes sold today support this in their particular categories. Okay? Every vendor has its own problems. Some vendors are really good at routing and meet all the requirements there. Some other vendors are pretty good in some other categories and meet all the requirements there. Without such a community document, those vendors would never fill the gaps. This is now an external, unbiased pressure for them to implement what not Jan or myself or some other guy, but the community thinks is absolutely mandatory to get the IPv6 rolling. Okay?
Yes.
I believe vendors don't like this document very much.
Of course not.
I was not to give a negative comment. Actually, I want to highlight two things from my experience with big operators, big carriers here in Poland. And what I actually perceive is that we received the list of requirements which are here now formalized in this document, which is very good they are formalized. We have received them quite early already in different RFP processes. And actually we see right now that some of these carriers, they really are afraid of the deadline when the deadline comes and they have no IPv4 addresses for their business customers, and they try to offload, well, to cope with this problem by giving IPv6 to the residential customers, which actually is a kind of challenging thing because there are, as you know, there are different methods to cope with that when you incorporate PRAS architecture, and some of the mechanisms are very costly. Consider DS Lite when, if you want to implement DS Lite in BNG environment, you need to basically prepare all your modems or set-top boxes or home CPE devices in general to support all these requirements. So I think my idea and my comment here is that basically we need to take special care not to push customers in, because there are different methods to accomplish this goal, to implement IPv6, but some methods are very costly, and whenever I hear that the big carrier considers DS Lite, I start to wonder if they are prepared to, let's say, swap their CPE devices for their residential customers. They don't need to. There are different methods. It's just a comment that I didn't read the whole document here. So, is there DS Lite as a no feature, which is very wise?
No, I don't think so.
Which is very wise, in my opinion.
No, you see, the DS Lite. Well, number one, DS Lite became an RFC a few weeks ago, I think. I didn't even have time to read it yet. So yes, I know it is supported by vendor J, but not yet by vendor C or something along those lines. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. DS Lite is one of the transport options. There are other transport options. You can't make something like a transport option mandatory or even optional under such a document. If it ever gets to the phase where DS Lite would be considered for inclusion into this, it would be under conditionally optional, which is the way we handle, for example, ISIS today. ISIS is not mandatory for IPv6, we know that, for the routers. So it's not in the mandatory category. ISIS has single topology and multi-topology mode. We know that multi-topology is good, but it's not mandatory for IPv6. So the way it's worded is, if you have ISIS and if you have MPLS traffic engineering, then you must support multi-topology mode. And the same thing, in my opinion, should apply to something like DS Lite. If you, as the customer, request DS Lite, then the equipment has to support the following RFCs. This is the help to the customer, because the customer can't possibly know everything he needs if he chooses the slide.
I see exactly. But it's under optional.
It's under optional, and also A plus P is.
Okay, so this happened after I've seen the last version.
This is for CPE.
Yeah, sure.
So, and a general comment. Okay, thank you. A general comment is that basically we see and we have seen for some time already very similar lists in RFPs from bigger carriers. So I really think that's kind of what is happening right now and what's been happening for some time ago already.
I just needed to change the document because I'm the co-author of A plus P.
Okay.
And, our draft just went to RFC 634946, and I just online changed it. Save. Yeah. Okay. Now the document is complete.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been the day of EuroNOG.
Yeah. So you buy the equipment, you sell the equipment, you integrate the equipment. So, for example, if he decides to use this document, because there is somewhere down there is skill requirements of the system integrator that says that system integrator must be
should know what IPv6 is, yeah.
Should know what IPv6 is, and if you sell the equipment, then you must be able to integrate it into IPv6 environment. So they do the features, they need the features, you need to integrate them. Are you working on this?
First thing, as operators are special companies, special enterprises. They have very skilled staff. Sometimes they have more skilled staff than integrators. So for operators, there is no such need sometimes for delivering IPv6 knowledge at such level.
But what if they require it in the tender? So you have to write the declaration.
You're right that integrator companies should know what IPv6 is. But in case of operators, they work with very tough environment, very specialized, with big boxes and so on. So sometimes they've got more better knowledge than us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I worked for operators, so I know. Yeah.
What in case of government?
Yeah, and the public companies are the other end sometimes. Oh, very much sometimes.
Because many governments around the world now just copy paste the stuff from RIPE 501,
yeah.
And there is they give a declaration to sign to integrators that they have a sufficient number of people employed that knows how to integrate IPv6.
Yeah, but we work with companies, with public companies, enterprises, so on, so we can prepare a special version, our version for Poland, because I work in Poland, such requirements. So maybe it will be translated into Polish, and some points will be excluded, some points will be interpreted differently, yeah. And I think it could be included in full length of text, but sometimes it could be just chosen by parts. Yeah.
Yeah, this document is meant for taking out parts.
But as a tool for us as integrators, delivering information, kind of evangelization about IPv6 is very good. I think what you would like to achieve in some years, you would like vendors to be strict on delivering IPv6 holistic view of working in a network environment is very good. Yeah, but it will be a very tough way to go.
Well. The big IPv6 employment wave started in Slovenia when integrators started to talk about IPv6 to their customers.
Yeah.
Before, when the customers asked, "Oh, what about IPv6?" And the integrators did not have a clue what IPv6 is. They said, "No, it's not important. But you don't need that." Now they say, "Yes, you need that. You must." And this was the big push for IPv6.
I know it. It's our job to deliver information about IPv6 to the customers.
Yeah, so
it's mostly our job as integrators.
You should get busy, yeah.
Because operators could run IPv6, and even the end customers, users, don't even see it. Because they are not aware about IPv6, IPv4. Just a normal user just uses internet, web, and so on. Looking on YouTube and so on.
Well, if we do our job in a good manner, people should never even notice that there is a new protocol.
I think it won't be such good way. Yeah, but I think the very interesting years are following for us. So, thanks.
Yeah. Pipi, would you like to add something? No, you're the integrator. Well, my question is, you're buying the equipment. Would you ever consider requesting the IPv6 knowledge in the system integrator, or you are just happy that they sell the equipment and?
No, just equipment, just support and some maybe little, but at all the knowledge is on our side. We have this knowledge, and we don't need to get this from integrator or vendor.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, yeah.
I remember such a picture of delivering internet to the masses. It was like going up. So we are now between geeks on IPv6 and between leaders, I think. So we are just now starting delivering IPv6 to leaders, and just starting knowing it much better than academic version of IPv6.
Well, current situation, like I explained before in the other session when I did the report what we did in our country, basically the business customer gets by default at any of 5 major ISPs that connect, they get IPv6 native. And I think next month or 2 months from now, incumbent telecom will enable by default IPv6 at residential customers. So if you are able to request IPv6 on PPP, then you have native IPv6 at home. So this changes a lot of things. So now the IPv6 will be massively used by the customer because it's preferred in their hosts. So many people will have to fix the servers on the other side.
Yeah, I think it will be kind of fast-moving change, but it must start. Now it's not started.
Yeah.
So we are just preparing for it, and who will be best prepared for it, then it will take most of money. Yeah? So because I'm on the market, I sell, I integrate, and I'm earning money on it, and we do some things to earn money, just like that. So if there's no need from customers, we
create a need.
Yeah, we try, but it costs. Yeah, so we just try to wait if it's good way to create need now or not. Yeah.
Probably it is.
Maybe you live in Slovenia and you've got other environment for in the market and so on. In Poland, I don't see it now.
Well, you should have been in his other session, because 2 years ago we had that same discussion in Slovenia. And this evangelist has more or less by himself created the market. Okay.
Yeah,
we all helped. Yeah. But if you don't talk about this, it will never happen.
I think you're right. But we must start as many integrators to talk.
Probably I should clone and leave my other clone here.
You should deliver a course about delivering IPv6 information to the market.
I did that in a previous session.
Yeah, but for every integrator.
Yeah, I go around the world and speak about that. That's the most demanded topic I don't know if I will be for 5 days at home until December. Now I go to like Brazil, Oman, Norway, all around the world to speak about how we did it in Slovenia. What are the mechanisms? And
so sharing your knowledge, so sharing experience will be for us very good. For me, especially.
Probably they recorded this my session, so my previous session, so you can have a look. Okay, how are we with time? We have to finish.
Yeah.
We have to finish. So, thank you everybody. If there are no other questions, we are here around. We are available to talk, to discuss things. We will have a beer party in the evening. You're coming with us? Cool.
Wait a minute, I got another question, because we got some participants from Poland, Slovenia and Italy. How does it look in these countries? I know how it does look in Slovenia. Yeah, we know it since yesterday. Evening party. And how does it look in Italy?
Good question. At the moment, I don't see any developing plan to deploy IPv6 to our customers. I represent the incumbent for Italy. At the moment, we test the architecture, some services, but I don't see yet that something is moving on. Maybe next year we'll see something, but at the moment I don't know the competitors, but there are no signal. Just maybe they are trying to push. They are trying to talk each other to convince the ISP, the university. I mean, GAR is the network interconnecting university, school, and so on. Are pushing it, the IPv6 deployment, but ISP provider that doesn't start yet, because the costs are for us are high, and it's not so easy to start.
I think Pipi has the right answer to that.
What?
As we discussed, if they start cutting down the costs or they invest, you know the discussion.
Oh yeah, that discussion.
Would you answer with that?
Well, no. Actually, the answer here is completely different. The problem with IPv6, as we all know, is that it doesn't give you anything new. There is no killer application for IPv6. It's the ability to continue doing your business.
Yeah.
Because if you don't plan today and you will run out of IPv4 addresses, you will have serious problems. And it will impact your business. So investing into IPv6 today is not something that will reap revenues or give you extra revenues. It is something that will allow you to continue doing your business. Yeah, it's an insurance, yeah? You see, it's like investing in bandwidth. If you don't buy more bandwidth, your users become unhappy, they go elsewhere. If you don't invest in IPv6, you run out of IPv4 addresses, you can't connect new users, they go elsewhere. In both cases, the investment does not give you immediate benefits. but it allows you to continue doing the business.
And please stop. And please stop talking about the cost. It's not a cost, it's an investment.
Okay. Just quick reply. Telecom Italia has more or less 6.5 billions of ADSL customer, residential, wholesale. Anyway, with a CP installed, provided for the customer in 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004, and so on. Will it support the IPv6? Yeah. Every CP is.
Oh, CPE.
CPE. Sorry.
Forget it.
CPEs the beginning of 2000.
There are a few CPEs that decently support IPv6 today. There are not many.
No, not now.
Oh, you mean years ago?
No. They didn't support.
No.
Okay. It's a cost. It's a huge cost for us.
Well, that's
because we have to replace.
Actually, you don't, because the existing customers already have IPv4 addresses. In short term, you don't need IPv6 for the existing customers. The only time the existing customers will have problems is when they will try to connect to newly deployed servers that don't have IPv4 addresses. And that will happen in a few years, first in China. And at that time, your IPv4 customers will have problems. And that is the time when you will have to change the old CPEs.
You start shipping the new ones,
Yeah.
IPv6 support. But you must start today, like our telecom is doing it. They started to ship today.
Well, Jan, to be honest, what Telecom is doing is very simple.
Yeah.
Because their CPE probably doesn't support IPv6.
The old one now.
Yeah. But if I am sitting behind it and it acts like a bridge and I establish PPPoE from my router, then the moment I signal I send IPv6 CP request, they come back saying, yes, you can do it. So they enable it for the new customers. They enable it for anyone who is able to ask for it. Old customers, who cares? They are already on the internet. But you have to be prepared for the future, not for the past.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you, Jan. Now we have to move to room number 1 and to the